wilderness is getting under their skin. Ticks. They breed. They hatch. They kill. A skin-crawling heart attack of terror. From the producers of such home video shockers as Reanimator and the Disney hit Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And directed by horror maestro Tony Randel of Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Grindhouse Syndicate. I am your host, a teenage Seth Green with an anxiety disorder and a shitty dad, and that is my co-host, a Compton version of Carlton from The Fresh Prince. And we hope that you brought your bug spray and steroids because today, from the producers of Reanimator and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which is a weird combination of movies to mention, we are covering a hidden gem from 1993, Tony Randel's Ticks, a.k.a. Infested. That was a good tick sound.
I'll try.
That was not the soundboard.
I'll try. That was me. I'll take credit for that.
Yeah, so this movie is kind of like a nostalgia movie for me. I have wanted to cover it for quite some time, and apparently I talk about it too much.
Yes, you mention this movie quite often.
Often? Do I mention like once a week?
No, but, well, I don't know. I'd say once a month at
Wow.
least. I hear
Okay.
it. I actually watched this on Tubi, and after what automatically started playing, and I figured you'd love this, so I saved this for the podcast. This was Slugs. 1988's Slugs came on. A horror movie about killer slugs.
Killer slugs. I have never heard or seen this movie, and it is fantastic. I want to watch Slugs.
I figured you would want to watch Slugs. Figured it would go on your must-watch list.
Did it have anybody that like I would know in it, or is it just like fucking just no-name people, slugs fucking massacring people?
Well, it had a couple famous slugs in it.
Oh.
They're trained slugs.
There's some slugs that have the stars on the Walk of Fame.
Yeah, they've been in a couple movies with slugs in it, a couple background shots, 2 or 3 commercials.
Just Slug Cruise, Tom Cruise's cousin, who's a slug.
Slugnardo DiCaprio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, no, I did not. I didn't get very far into it because I had to work the next day. But I did watch the first 15 minutes of it, and it is... So it doesn't look like giant, like car-sized slugs. It just looks like shit tons of killer slugs. I don't know. They may grow. They may grow into big slugs.
Did they use real slugs in the movie, or is it like obviously fake slugs?
I think it was fake slugs. I don't know. I like I said, I was finishing up my notes for the show while it was playing and kind of watching it in the background. I think that it may have been real slugs, but I can't guarantee.
Yeah, I've been on the fence with this whether they used real ticks or not. Not sure. They look pretty good if they're not.
There's some good looking fucking ticks. I'll give them that. That is one thing about this movie, for the sake of people like, oh God, it's a movie in 1993 about giant killer ticks. They do a really good job with the effects. The ticks actually look like ticks.
Yeah, with this movie, so people see that this movie was like direct to VHS, and they think it was kind of shitty. And that's not the case. This movie was supposed to be in the theaters. And around this time, a year before, maybe a year after, apparently the big production companies and distributing companies were paying theaters to kind of keep the small indie films out of theaters.
Fucking politicians.
Bastards.
It's the right and the left. It's the two-party system. They're keeping the one-party system. Only major movies. They fucking... They fucked ticks up, man. They did. Slugs? Like, come on.
Slugs probably wasn't going to be in the theaters, but
No, Slugs was clearly going to be in theaters. Clearly. I think that, you know what? I think they were real slugs. I'm just going to say that. I don't think they had CGI slugs. CGI good enough for slugs in 1988.
Probably not. They barely had any CGI at all. I think back then the CGI was only explosions. It was like all the CGI that they could
And they were awful.
muster.
They were awful, and they were a selling point to the movies, and people were like, damn, that shit was good.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this movie. Love this movie. I probably love it more than it should be loved, but it's great. It scarred me as a child. I had an incident where a slug,
This goddamn slugs,
yeah,
man.
I had an incident where a tick was discovered in my hair while we were watching this film. True story. And it scarred me.
That's how you learned about the existence of ticks, was it?
Yes, I thought ticks were made. I was only like 7 when we watched this, and I thought that they just kind of made these creatures up for this movie, like a creature feature. And yeah, there was an actual tick in my head, and I was like, my mind was blown. And when it was removed, it was very large. It had been suckling on my brain blood for quite some time.
That's
And
the word, suckling.
it was suckling. Yeah, the whole top of my head was sore, like bruised. And then we set it on fire in the sink, and it exploded, and it was like a big splat of blood, much like in this movie, very similar. And I thought that was awesome. So I immediately went from like, horrified to like, oh, that was cool. And yeah, so this movie just like burned into my brain. And the special effects are fantastic. So I've always really liked this movie. Apparently, because I've brought it up many times.
Yeah, I just found out last night that slugs are real. While we were watching slugs, I had one on my head.
Did someone found a slug in your hair?
I wonder if any point in that movie, just seeing 20 minutes of it, and this is the last time I mentioned slugs, they bring in a giant salt truck.
Well, there's got to be assault or salt trucks in the movie. Like, you can't have slugs doing evil and someone not be like, well, why don't we just get the salt? You know that it's got to be in there. If they don't have that in that movie, whoever wrote it should retire.
I wonder how many slugs were hurt in the making of that film.
Hopefully none. Because,
It's 1988. They
slugs have
probably
rights.
salted a lot of slugs.
Slugs have rights to their life too. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to get into it. I got a little bit. There's not like a ton of production info on this movie, but I got a little bit. And to pick up where the producers of Reanimator and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where that came from, was on YouTube. You can find a promo that the producers, it's probably the distributing company, sent to all these movie rental places back then. Pretty much like, hey, you should buy like 10 copies of our movie to stock in your store, and here's why. And that's how they open up, like, from the producers of Reanimator and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like,
why?
You should have just stuck with the Reanimator.
You guys know how awesome Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was.
There's another thing they bring up too. They want to send you like this full size, like stand up. Remember they used to have them cardboard things that they would just have standing up in there that would promote a movie?
Please tell me a giant tick.
No.
God
no, it wasn't.
damn, how do you miss that?
No. I think I'm about to answer why they didn't do a giant tick. So they talk about, you get this full size, whatever it's called. And then they said it's 2-sided. And I was like, oh, what's on the other side? And they're like, and on the other side is a complete different movie. A movie I never even heard of.
That's stupid. They'd have sent a giant cutout of a tick. That'd have made a lot more sense.
Oh, they have these.
Was it Honey, I Shrank the Parents or whatever the other one's called?
No.
Was that the back?
They have at the end of this video recommendations for how, once you purchase your copies of Ticks, how you can promote it to the public to get people to come and rent the copies from you. And one of them is get a blood drive van to come outside of your movie rental place and like give out, like, if you donate blood that day, you get like $5 off your movie rentals. And I was like, that's genius. Like, you're promoting a movie called Ticks and you get a blood drive van to come and like get people to donate blood for money off on their rentals.
That's
smart.
That is some serious marketing.
They got a bunch of other ones, but that was the gold. That was like
they
gold.
must have stole that from the movie Leeches.
All right, let's jump into this. But first, if you want to stay up to date on what is going on with us or the show, talk about or submit your movie request, or just say hey, you can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at Grindhouse.Horror.Pod.com, Facebook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instagram at Grindhouse.Syndicate.Horror.Pod, and many more, which you can find links for in the show notes as always. And please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. And if you really love us and don't want us to have to illegally grow marijuana in the woods because the local mill shut down, give us a review. Ticks is also known as Infested. It is a 1993 direct-to-video horror film directed by Tony Randel, who did Hellraiser 2, Hellbound, Amityville Horror 1992, and Children of the Night. It stars Seth Green, Rosalind Allen, Amy Dolenz, Alfonso Ribeiro, and Clint Howard. It was written by Brett Freeman, and cinematography was done by Steve Grass. It was produced by First Look Pictures and distributed by Republic Pictures. It was released on VHS in October 8th of 1993. It is 85 minutes long, but as of 2021, there is a 4K Blu-ray edition that added an extra 9 minutes of never-before-seen footage.
I can't believe that you do not have the extra 9 minutes of Ticks.
I didn't know there was a 4K Blu-ray edition.
I'm sure you'll have it now. I'm sure that's already going to be on the list.
It's
already on the way?
It's in my cart. Amazon.
I figured. I'm so glad that they stuck with the name Ticks and not Infested.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably like fucking 5 other Infested out there when you count independent films. Just how could you miss Ticks?
Infested is too much of a big movie name. Ticks is like...
Blumhouse has an Infested coming out right now. And it's David Gordon Green's doing it, and it's gonna do awful.
I would shit if they came out and he was like, I'm remaking Ticks. I'd be like, you son of a bitch. You better not.
It's like, we're gonna get Seth Green to come back and barely be in the movie.
Well, if he was in the whole movie, I'd be a little more for it. But yeah, if he was just barely in it.
It'd be all CGI Ticks.
He dies from a tick bite in the very beginning. You're like, God damn it. I knew that was a fucking cash grab. So it was filmed in Big Bear Lake, Big Bear Valley, and the San Bernardino National Forest, located in California. It had an estimated budget of $2 million and had one award nomination, which was the 1993 Fangoria Chainsaw Awards for Best Limited Direct-to-Video Feature, but it unfortunately lost to Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. The film follows a group of troubled teenagers who are led by social workers on a California wilderness retreat, not knowing that the woods that they are camping in have become infested by mutated blood-sucking ticks. The film was inspired by creature feature films from the 1950s and body horror special effects scenes, reminiscent of The Fly and John Carpenter's The Thing.
You stole my The Fly comparison. I thought that was going to be a good one too, man. That's a classic. I didn't think that would come up. And there's a particular scene in this movie that is 100% The Fly.
Well, one of the things that reminds me of The Fly is what his face is bubbling out and stuff like that. Because that's very The Fly.
Yeah, we got the Nightmare on Elm Street, the Roach Motel too.
Roaches check out, but they can't check in. That's a good one. That's a crazy one too, because there's a really close similarity between that scene and the scene at the end of this.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison.
And interesting, because you mentioned infested forest here in my very lengthy 30-second research of this movie. So the eggs that we get in this movie, a female tick lays between 2,000 and 8,000 ticks at a time.
God.
So that makes sense.
Does she have to get fucked 8,000 times, or is that just one time? One dicking down gives you 8,000.
Well, from what I read, I don't know if they need dicking down. They sound like they
Oh
suck.
God.
They suck a bunch of blood, and they suck a bunch of blood until they get tired, and then they lay a shit ton of eggs. And I think I don't know, man. Somehow they gotta be. There's got to be some intercourse here at some point. Maybe they get fucked before they suck the blood.
They give like a bloody BJ and get pregnant from
They give a blood job for sure. God, I hate when that happens.
Oh man, I'm dying for a blood job tonight.
But I thought it made sense to mention because at the end of this movie we get the fire and you see how infested this place is with ticks, and this takes place over like a 2-day period. So it makes a lot more sense.
Well, not only that, but there's the scene kind of in the beginning of the movie where Seth Green and the Melissa girl or whatever, they're walking through the woods and there's like they're everywhere. They're all over the trees and you're like, damn, this shit just happened yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it could really happen. So everybody pray that we don't get giant ticks, because if so, they will take over the world.
So the special effects team that worked on this are also known for doing The Addams Family, Aliens, which is a phenomenal film, Beetlejuice, and Star Wars.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job in this, man. I give them that.
The original screenplay was written 2 decades earlier by special effects creator Doug Beswick under the title Cycle of Blood. Maybe that's why he named it Cycle of Blood, is because they drink the blood and then they get pregnant and then they lay the eggs and it's a whole new cycle.
That is why.
That makes a lot more sense now.
And even more surprising is how long that guy wanted to make a movie about giant ticks.
Yeah.
2 decades earlier. It's like early 70s.
He didn't even get to fucking direct it.
No.
Fuck.
You were mentioning the names of the movies that the guy who directed it had done, and I thought for sure you were going to say Children of the Corn, and then you went with Children of the Night.
I hate Children of the Corn. The film was released internationally under the name Ticks, but changed it in the U.S. to Infested. After a brief test market, it was changed back to Ticks for home video and TV, where it became a minor cult classic under its original name.
Thank God that they changed that back. I don't know if we'd be talking about this if it was Infested.
So ratings. Rotten Tomatoes gave this a fucking 71%. That's all I'm talking about, Rotten Tom. I like it.
A little clap for Rotten Tomatoes. Telling you, man, they like the independent films.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised that they like this one. I mean,
yeah,
it's an indie film, but it's it's a gore fest horror film kind of.
I will say they like the artsy movies, the beautiful cinematography movies and stuff, and this is not that. Then definitely not.
So IMDb gave it a 5.5 out of 10. I do not agree with that. Letterboxd gave it a 3 out of 5. And the Google average audience rating, I don't have a rating from Google, but Google did say 78% of Google users like this movie. If you would like to watch this movie, and you should, you can currently find it streaming on Tubi, Pluto, Sling TV, Roku, Redbox, Amazon Prime, and YouTube, all for free.
For fucking free.
So you have no excuse. I mean, unless you don't have internet, then you couldn't watch it on any of these. But
well, if you don't have internet, you can get it on Blu-ray with an extra 9 minutes.
If you don't have internet, you're probably not listening to this show.
That is a good point. So if you were listening to this show, you have no excuse.
You have no excuse.
And I feel like we went on a run with no Tubi for a while. I feel like our first
Maniac Cop was our last Tubi movie.
Yeah, I feel like our first 10 or 15 episodes of the show were all Tubi movies, and then we just hit a skid. But we're back, Tubi. We're fucking back. So
roll out the mat because we've shown up in our limo.
Open those messages we sent you. Send us some goddamn money, please.
All right, so plot. You ready to jump into the fucking meat and potatoes of this thing? I'll take that as yes.
Doing the rest of the episode as a tick.
I should have introduced you. What's my co-host, a tick?
Well, I thought for sure you were going to, which is why I had the tick noids ready.
I couldn't pass up on Carlton.
Yeah, Gangster Carlton. Panic.
So the film starts off by showing us this metal building, and inside we see all this like automated equipment it's like on a timer. And it's all being used to grow these like big ass crops of weed. So basically, we have this metal building in the woods and it's full of like 5 foot tall weed plants. And this equipment begins spraying the plants with some kind of chemicals, I assume to make the plants like really big. And then we see that this chemical has begun to leak out of the bottom of this machine and drip onto the sack of tick eggs. So it is like a horror movie version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep. Yeah, this is 100% some straight 90s toxic goo.
Secret of the Ooze, Teenage Ninja Giant Ticks.
Growing weed.
Teenage Mutant Giant Ticks.
Giant weed. Giant
weed ticks.
Giant fucking weed ticks. Yeah, this is definitely 90s. We get this awesome 90s green and black ticks title card too.
Oh
Which I
yeah.
want to throw out there.
Yeah,
If you just showed me a picture of this, I'd be like 90s.
I feel like
That's 90s.
that green for the lettering,
Tales
because
from the Crypt.
it's like no one uses that green anymore. Where did it go?
It got lost in the fucking 90s, man. Goosebumps and Tales from the Crypt got left behind with it.
Yeah, I missed that green. Come back, green.
It's a good green.
So we then jump on over to downtown of some unnamed big city. Not really sure if this is supposed to be like LA or something. And we meet one of our main characters, Tyler. And his dad is dropping him off in this random industrial area under a bridge.
Bro, his dad sucks.
Dude, so before we talk about his dad, I'm going to describe this place really simple. The dad pulls up in a truck and he basically has his teenage kid, get out of this truck. This place looks like if you were going to buy like some kilos of cocaine, like this is where you bring your bag full of money. Like this is where the deal goes down.
There's even a bridge to be under.
Yep, there's a bridge to hide from the police under while you do your deal. This is not a place you leave your child.
Everybody knows where there's a bridge in a shady area. There's always shady doings under the bridge.
Well, there's probably somebody living under there.
Yeah.
Almost certainly.
Oh yeah, there's definitely homeless people under there. And also homeless giant ticks for sure.
They haven't
Yeah.
made it to the city yet, but we'll talk about that at the end.
We will. Don't spoil it. Yeah. Why would you leave your fucking kid? Like, at this point in the movie, nobody else in the movie is here yet. This guy literally drives to the most seediest, shadiest place possible and just dumps his kid out the car.
What if you're in the wrong place?
Yeah.
It's not like, now we got phones where you
I
can
don't
just
think
like
this guy
drop a
cared.
pin or something or whatever. He's like, he just talked to somebody on a phone and like, how do you even write an address down? Like, drop him off under the Lincoln Bridge. That sounds good.
Yeah. I don't think
Okay.
this guy cares that they're in the wrong place.
He's like, I fucking
hopefully
hate this kid.
somebody shoots this kid and I don't have to hear from him again.
Yeah, he doesn't even wait around to see if this lady shows up. Like, he just is like, I hope you get better. Get out of my truck.
Yeah, I see why Tyler's got some issues. Did you catch that they totally sanded like a company logo off the side of the truck? They didn't even try to paint over it or anything.
I did not see it. Could you tell what the logo used to be?
Oh no, it looks like they literally they just took a metal grinder and
Is
they
it just metal?
It's just metal. Yeah, they grinded it down to metal. They literally
I didn't
took
see that.
They took a grinder and literally it's like a giant oval on the door that they just completely took a company logo
That's
off the
funny.
side.
Like a landscaping logo or something.
Yeah, it totally was like a plumber or landscape truck or something. They didn't even try to paint over it or cover it up.
So we learned that Tyler is a troubled teen and his dad found out about this program with this woman named Holly Lambert, who has had a lot of success in the past with other troubled teens. And Tyler is, he's not really into this though. He doesn't really want to go.
Yeah, and no kid ever that has ever been part of these programs or
Man,
ever
I'm
want to go.
So excited you putting me in a fucking program with strangers. It's great. And as Tyler starts to have like sort of a panic attack, another young teenager walks out from the shadows from under the bridge. It's Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And
in West Philadelphia.
he is dressed in all black trench coat, parachute pants, and some really dark sunglasses. And he pulls out his switchblade. He tells Tyler people call him Panic because he never does.
That's so fucking stupid,
I'm
man.
like, what? Like
that
what?
makes no sense. No fucking sense at all.
Yeah, this whole character is just chalked up to like suburbia white people trying to write what people like in the hood would say in their names. Like in the 90s, that's like a running theme in 90s horror films.
My wife calls me premature cum because I never do.
People call me shit in my pants because I never do.
Yeah, so this is a time, like 90s horror movie depictions of gangster characters were always completely just horrible. Like, you think of any 90s horror depiction of characters, like you go back to like, or even late 80s, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Julius,
yeah, Julius. I'm not taking anything but this gun. Yeah, they were always so far off, and it's
comical.
Like, and yeah, the trench coat. Like, I don't think gangsters wore trench coats in the 90s. I don't think that was a thing. You look at movies like Juice and movies where they actually get it right from this time period. Like, you don't see Tupac running around in parachute pants and a trench coat.
Tupac wears goth trench coat all the time.
Goth life across his stomach.
So Tyler calls his bluff and says, "You aren't going to kill me." And Panic, who we find out his real name is Daryl, says, "Well, maybe my dog will." And we see his vicious killer dog, which is actually the cutest white and black border collie.
I almost feel like they're fucking with us at this point. Like, not only do they pull out Carlton, who's the most ungangster black guy you could ever possibly find, they put him in parachute pants and a trench coat, called him the worst fucking nickname that makes no sense, and then gave him a super cute border collie as his vicious dog.
Yeah, he's trying to like scare people like with the dog, like this dog is a killer. And I'm like, man, I just really want to pet your dog. Like, I want to throw a stick and have your dog go get it because that's what border collies do.
Bro, I bet you Carlton's parents are rich. No, like, we don't know why our kid's acting like this. That would make a lot more sense.
That's why they put him in the program. We're like, you need to act normal, and I don't know what's going on with you.
He's got rich parents.
That's a very expensive trench coat.
It would make more sense of why he
Louis Vuitton trench coat.
Wears trench coats and has a vicious border collie. Came up with the lamest nickname he could possibly find. Panic.
They call me poor because I'm not. We then see a van pull up and Holly Lambert gets out and introduces herself as the director of the Wilderness Project. We also meet Charles Danson, who is like Holly's, I guess, like assistant or co-director. They don't really say what his position here is.
He is he massages her vagina at night. That's his job. He is the hired dick.
For anybody who has watched King of the Hill, he is the Indian guy who massages Dale's wife. Holly has headaches. But yeah, so he's coming along, and also his teenage daughter, Melissa. And this is where we find out that Daryl knows Holly very well and is also going to be going on this trip. Then two other teenagers pull up in a nice car and introduce themselves as Dee Dee Davenport and Rome Hernandez. So they're obviously really rich too. What if they got out and been like, "Hey, Daryl, we haven't seen you at the private high school lately." So they all climb into the van and head off to the wilderness. So to recap, we have 2 adults, Holly and Charles, and 6 teenagers, Tyler, Daryl, Dee Dee, Rome, Melissa, and Kelly, who we haven't really like met yet. Like, she's there, but she's kind of like avoiding everybody. She doesn't talk.
Bro, who brought like the 30 or 50 pack of condoms? Who was that? Was that Rome's?
I think it was Rome because he's the only one his girlfriend's there.
Holly's fucking everybody, I guess.
I mean, maybe. Next, we see during a stop for a flat tire, Daryl finds some kind of like bug on his dog. Tyler comes over to look and discovers that it's a tick. He pulls it off and tells Daryl that because they are too tough to squash, you have to use fire to kill them. And this obviously becomes important later on.
Did that tick bust in Panic's face?
It busted like Charles does later on. So we then jump on over to the weed growing building where we meet an older dirty gentleman named Jarvis Tanner, who is the guy running this operation. And as he is working on a bear trap on the floor, we get a tick POV shot where it climbs onto the table and kills Jarvis's pet hamster.
Pretty sure that, like, at this point, the tick is about the size of a tarantula. I'm not quite sure how it skinned this entire guinea pig alive. When you say hamster, people think of small. This is a big ass fucking like guinea pig.
Yeah, I don't know. I just seen a small furry rat thing, and I just always assume they're hamsters. Probably
they're all
is a guinea.
hamsters.
Probably,
Rats, mice, they're all hamsters.
Probably
they're all
is.
in the hamster family.
I would agree. It's probably a guinea pig.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it does. Like ticks are supposed to suck your blood, but no, it just skinned this fucking thing alive.
Unless it was a hamster and it got the weed growing juice on it, whatever that is.
Its skin grew and ripped off.
It got bigger, like the ticks do.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
It's important to note here that anytime there's a fucking bear trap in a horror movie, whoever's bear trap it is gonna step in it.
It's
guaranteed.
It's like a magnet.
Yes. There's never been a horror movie with the bear trap where somebody hasn't stepped in their own bear trap.
Why are you setting up a bear trap inside of your work area?
Because he
Like, that
doesn't want
seems like-
nobody stealing his pot.
No, it seems like something you'd set up outside.
Yeah, it does. That would make a lot more sense. But no.
Well,
This guy likes stepping in his bear traps. He likes to test them out and make sure they
I
work.
gotta make sure it works. Jarvis hears this, and as he is investigating the mangled corpse of the hamster guinea pig, we see a big-ass fucking tick run past his foot. The tick then jumps towards his face, causing him to jump back, step into the bear trap, and fall to the ground. And as he looks up, he sees these huge slimy sacks of ticks stuck to the ceiling. When suddenly one falls and lands directly on his face, but we don't get to see what happens because we got to jump back to these damn teenagers. So then we finally arrive at the cabin. They grab all their stuff and head inside to claim their bunk beds. Tyler finds one of these like gooey egg things in the closet, and he busts it open with a clothes hanger and then closes the door. We then see the camera pan into the wall where we are shown that there is already a big ass tick like chilling in the wall.
I'm not sure if the producers were a little confused at this, but there's a couple spots in this movie, this one being the most obvious, where there's all these spider webs around these ticks. I'm not sure if they realized that ticks don't spin spider webs.
Maybe it's like to make it creepy.
To
Make it look old. Because, like, I don't know, anytime you see, like, fuck tons of spider webs, you automatically assume this shit's, like, old as fuck.
Yeah, but these, like, there's so much spider webs in this one spot around this, where this tick's at, that you would think, like, this would be in a giant spider movie. Like, it's a lot of fucking web.
Speaking of spider movies, I was kind of thinking about it, and I don't really get excited for, like, I wouldn't get excited if this was a giant spider movie compared to a giant tick movie, or we were talking about the slugs earlier. Yeah, spiders just don't, I don't know, man. If they had the same exact movie, but it was like big ass spiders, I wouldn't really care about it. It's something about,
It's because spiders and snakes and shit, like, they're already scared. Those are the obvious choices. It's when you take something like a tick or like giant termites. You got a giant termite infestation, and
I would probably watch that.
What
I don't know
about
if I would like it as much as I like this, but I would watch it.
Giant killer fleas. You already know
Oh
how
God,
bad they can
dude,
infest some
fleas are
shit.
bastards.
They could jump like 50 miles.
Yeah, I remember I was like reading some facts about fleas one time. Don't know why. I think I was just bored. And if a flea was the size of like a Honda Civic, it would be able to jump over the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
It's fucking
so
unreal.
So I believe that they can jump higher than any other organism known based off of their size. And I actually know why you were looking this up. This is one time you put a flea under your microscope and we
Oh,
were
yeah.
looking at it, remember? It's
Yes.
super fucking creepy. You could see like it's like the blood moving around in its body.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's actually a type of protein that is in their legs that almost acts as like a rubber band.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
what
yeah.
allows them to jump.
I remember we did all this. Yeah, we like looked it up and shit because their legs are like, you can see like, so if you don't know, if you put a flea under a microscope, you can actually, the light that shines up underneath it, you can actually kind of see through the flea's exoskeleton. You can see through his body. And remember, we could actually see his like heart pumping. And I remember you could kind of see like these big ass, I don't know, I thought they were muscles in the leg or whatever, but you looked it up and found it as some kind of like elastic type muscle that we humans do not have.
Yeah, it's a protein in their body that is actually very, very rare to find, but it almost acts as rubber. Like it launches them like almost like a reverse rubber band.
Yeah, I think I still have that picture somewhere.
Yeah, it's really cool looking.
Yeah.
Really, really fucking creep you out. Giant fleas would be an awful, awful thing to have to combat.
If you hear this episode and you want to see the giant, or you want to see the flea under the microscope picture, fucking just comment it on our on this episode's comment section, and maybe I'll post it if I can find it. So a little later on, Tyler and Melissa are going for a walk in the woods, and Tyler starts to see all of these slimy egg sacs like scattered all around the woods and the trees and on the logs and shit. And they end up stopping to talk for a moment when suddenly Tyler notices Melissa has one of these eggs stuck to her back. How the fuck did she not know that like a football sized, like, how you would describe, it's like a slimy bug thing stuck to your back? Like it's big.
I don't know how that you wouldn't pick up on this. This thing's got to weigh like 5 to 10 pounds and it's literally stuck to your back. How the fuck you would, like, I get like, if she had a regular sized flea and he was like, oh shit, you got a bug on your back. No, this thing's like literally half of her lower back is taken up and she's like just trotting around.
It's kind of comically like funny when you see, like, she turns around and he's like, yeah, you got something on your back. And she's like, yeah, right. I'm like, no, you literally have like a backpack size item on your back.
Yeah, it's like somebody being like, oh, you got something on your face, and then they turn around, their whole fucking face is like covered in paint or something. Yeah, it's definitely, there's no way that you wouldn't notice that. One thing, kind of a theory here, just kind of throwing this out there. So right before this, Tyler starts getting weird and he starts getting these visions and shit. And he blames this on anxiety later in the movie because he got lost in the woods as a kid. But every time this happens, like, something bad happens afterwards. And he's not by himself, he's with her. And this is right before he notices this giant fucking tick on her. And they're actually surrounded in the woods by these giant ticks at this point. I think Tyler shines.
That is a
out there theory.
Interesting theory.
I think he shines.
How not saying you're wrong, but when you watch this, like, how did your mind go to The Shining?
Because he kept getting every time something bad would happen right before, he would start getting at least in the first half of the movie, he would start getting these visions and he would start acting really bad, like not like a typical person with anxiety. Like he starts like his head's hurting, he's getting these visions and he's like, we got to get the fuck out of here. Like I got a really bad feeling. And it's clear that he's getting these really some type of intuition that some bad shit's going on and he doesn't feel right. And every time he's right.
It's interesting. I kind of would like to watch the movie again with, because I didn't really pay attention to what you're talking about. Like I kind of just chalked it up to, whatever he said it was, like his anxiety or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a completely fucking out there theory. There's no concrete behind that.
Stephen King's ticks.
that honestly could, around this time in the 90s, that would totally make sense. Right after Maximum Overdrive.
Oh yeah, and trucks.
Uh-huh.
So as he attempts to remove it with a stick, we see that the tick has latched onto her skin through the egg and does not want to be removed. Tyler finally pries it off, and as it falls to the ground, it scurries off with the stick. Just takes the stick. It's like, this is my stick now.
This tick just stole that stick.
He did. He should feel ashamed. Tyler is a human being, almost grown man, and a bug took a stick from him. Just took it from him like lunch money.
Yeah, when they get back to the adults and they're trying to be like, we got to get out of here, like there was something on me, Tyler should have been like, no, this thing stole a stick from me. It ran away with the law. It literally stole my fucking wallet.
So Melissa becomes very upset and demands Tyler take her back to the cabin. They attempt to tell the rest of the group about the giant bug, but the adults are like, yeah, that's why you don't fuck with nature. And the teens make a joke out of it. Except Daryl, who's like, man, I knew I should have brought my gun.
He's like, I should have brought the strap.
He could have used that when the tick stole the stick. Like, pulled his gun out, like, don't you take that stick.
No, I'm sure that the tick would have stole his gun.
Stole the gun. Then the tick's got guns, and this movie's over way faster.
One of them's got sticks, the other's got a baseball bat, and then the one in the middle's got a gun.
And right after this conversation, these two dudes just come casually walking up to their camp. And I didn't mention it earlier because it's like a really short scene, but the group, they've seen these two guys before. They did like a really quick store stop, and they don't really have a lot of interaction with the group here at the cabin, but we do learn that there is a very sloppy looking like redneck guy who is way too into teenage Melissa.
Yeah, this Jerry is the walking human version of the word pedophile.
Yep. That is accurate. He has that written all over him. Like, he's not even trying to hide it. Like, he's pretty open about it.
Yeah, it's gross. And he's very clearly dabbled in some meth.
Yeah. So the other one, who is definitely like the leader of the duo, he's a more clean-cut, normal-looking guy who wears snakeskin boots and a tan trench coat. Wouldn't it be funny if he looked at Daryl, who was also wearing a trench coat, and was like, hey, I've seen you at the trench coat store. I see you got that black trench coat you were looking at.
I've seen you over in Beverly Hills at the trench coat store, and panicked like, shut up.
That wasn't me. So that was another guy named Panic. My name's Daryl. Yeah, you got the wrong guy. So we find out that the clean cut one, his name is Sir, which is definitely not his actual name.
No, it is. He got credited as Sir.
Yeah, that doesn't mean
literally
it's his name.
as far as the thought as they would give him for a name. They're like, what are we going to call him, Sir? Just put him in a Sir.
Yeah, so in Redneck Pedo Guy, his name is Jerry. And I would also like to point out that Jerry has Mad Thomas teeth.
Yes.
Mad Thomas's great-great-great-grandfather.
Yeah, I'm going to, if I had to pick, I'm taking my chances with Mad Thomas, though. At least Mad Thomas may have wanted you murdered for crazy religious reasons, but he didn't fuck your kids.
Yeah. But yeah, so they come by to tell the group that recently the local mill has closed down and some of the locals have resorted to growing marijuana in the woods close by. Make sure you avoid these evil people or you may become addicted to drugs.
Not the pot.
Not the
Please,
devil's
God,
lettuce.
Not the pot.
So back at the weed shack, Jarvis wakes up and immediately starts ripping his shirt off to discover one of these big-ass ticks is under his skin. He grabs his pistol to shoot it out of himself. He's like, I know what I'll do. I'll shoot the tick that's inside my body. That'll solve it. I don't think he's very bright.
Bro, this guy always plays a dumbass.
Yes.
It's like every movie he plays is like a dumbass redneck.
His brother is like a famous director and played Opie in the Andy Griffith Show. Yeah.
Not super familiar with Opie. I know Andy Griffith.
Yeah, his son.
Oh, I'm sorry. This guy always plays just like a not very bright character.
Yeah, wasn't he also, was he in the Water Boy or something?
Yeah, he was in Waterboy.
Kind of played the same character in that.
Yeah, for this movie being like a straight to video, you can definitely tell it was supposed to go to theaters.
Yeah.
Because there is some very famous people in it. This guy who's from Waterboy, you got Seth Green in it. I don't know how famous he was then. He was a teenager, but I think he had been in some stuff before this. Carlton definitely was super famous from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at this point. And then Charles, who I can't name anything he's been in, but I know he's been in a lot of shit.
He was in a commercial at least.
No, you recognize him from other stuff, right?
His face seems familiar, but I can't think of a damn thing I've seen him in.
He was in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I'm sure.
Or Reanimator. It then travels down his leg where he screams and then shoots a hole in his thigh, which is a dumb fucking move. Before we can see what happens, we cut back to the cabin. The group steals gas from the van and... what you got? What he's in?
He was in Honey, I Shrunk the fucking Kids.
Oh my God. Really?
He was the dad.
What?
Yes, he was the fucking dad. I was right.
No.
That's where I knew him from.
No, that's Rick Moranis who's the dad in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
He was in the TV show Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
There's
not
a
the movie.
fucking TV show?
Yes, there was a TV series from 1997 to 2000, and he played Wayne Selinsky.
Yeah.
The dad.
Well, shit, I didn't know there was a TV show. I had no idea.
Yep.
Why?
Why was there a TV show?
Why did they make a TV show?
Because there's a lot of demand for shrinking children.
Did he shrink the kids every episode? Or did he shrink them the first episode? The whole season's trying to find them.
He shrank them and fed them to kids. Or fed them to... He shrank them and fed them to ticks, clearly.
Cannibalism. Here, kids, get your spoonful of kids.
Those poor kids.
Jerry shows up. I heard you're feeding a spoonful of kids to people.
Yeah, you don't want your kids going and hanging out with his kids.
No, yeah. So the group steals gas from the van in order to start a big-ass bonfire, while Chuck is inside. Chuck. Where? Yeah.
Chuck. There's no Chuck in this movie.
His name is Charles. His name is... You
His
got the
name is
cast list?
Charles.
His name is Charles, right?
His name
Is it
is
Charles or Chuck?
Charles Danson.
No Chuck.
No Chuck.
Is Chuck short for Charles? I don't fucking know.
Chuck is short for Chuckstifer.
Yeah, I don't know where I got Chuck from. I think it's like the third movie I've invented a name.
maybe somebody calls him Chuck.
I don't
Maybe
know.
He goes by. I don't remember it. I'm pretty sure there's no Chuck in this.
Yeah, so Chuck is inside fucking Holly. He blows out Holly.
He blows Holly's back
Blows
out.
out Holly's fucking vag walls. And also her bedroom window, causing Chuck to run outside and start yelling at the group. Chuck feels bad.
For those confused, he did not fuck her so hard the window broke.
He fucked her hard, though.
He did. Holly is limping on the way out the door.
So
she didn't walk right for the rest of the movie.
So he feels bad and tells the gang that he will properly teach them how to make a fire tomorrow night because he is currently a little busy. They don't even try to fucking hide it. They don't even try to hide that they were just fucking like, bumping uglies in there.
He's like, I'm like 3 minutes from nutting. I'm a little busy. I don't have time for fire right
This
now.
is like a social services program, and the fucking two people that are running it are like, dude, they're doing more fucking than the teens are doing.
All those condoms was Charles. Those weren't
Like
Rome.
Jason's gonna come out of the fucking woods and be like, there's some fucking going on here.
Yeah. Premarital sex? What? Holly's like, go away, Jason. We go through this every time.
Yeah.
I gotta bring a guy out here.
I'm not a teenager. I'm an adult. He's like, sorry. But yeah, so he says he's a little busy, and his daughter's like, busy doing what? Fucking Holly?
Yeah, she straight fucking
does-
calls.
yeah, she
calls
called him
them
out.
out for sure. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. He doesn't have anything to argue with her. He's like, damn it, how did they know?
We then see Daryl's dog get attacked by a giant tick out in the woods. Daryl and Tyler hear the dog yelp, and Tyler wakes up Chuck Charles and Holly to tell them what's going on. We then see that the dog is laying on its side with a big bloody wound on its stomach and violently shaking. As Tyler and Chuck Charles make their way into the woods, they run into Daryl carrying his now lifeless dog. Sad.
Yeah, the dog scene was very, 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 very upsetting. They did it really good too. Like I guess they probably built the fake dog, fake border collie.
Well, I hope so.
Well, I'm saying, like, I assume they put some type of like thing in it to make it twitch, and its stomach was all blooded out, and it's a really too realistic. I wish they would have just killed one of the kids for this scene. Just take one of the teens. You didn't have to take the dog.
No, leave the dog.
And then Carlton does a Grammy performance. He actually cries in this scene.
I actually think his acting was
The best acting.
considering what he had to work with. He does a good job.
Yeah, and then he's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, and I don't fucking blame him. I would have too.
So the next morning, the sheriff arrives at the cabin to take a look at the dog. I don't know why you call the cops for that, and after he looks at the body, he tells Chuck Charles that it could really be anything and that he recommends they take the body to the vet. Holly asks Tyler to go wake up Daryl, and Tyler informs him that he left on foot last night, saying he was going to hitchhike his way back to the city. Melissa tells Tyler not to worry about panic because if he can survive in the city, then he can survive in the woods easily.
Which makes no fucking sense.
Yes, that is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard.
Spent any time in the woods, just having street smarts and surviving the city, and then surviving the wilderness with no supplies is a completely fucking different thing.
Yeah, one place you have like a massive amounts of people and resources and street signs to navigate things, and the other one you don't have shit. You literally have nothing.
You have ticks.
Yeah, and maybe you can ask the ticks where to go.
You know what? These ticks are so big, you could probably eat these for protein.
I was gonna say ride one. Just ride one back to the city.
They're not that big. You strap them on as roller skates.
They find Daryl like a couple days later, and he's like, I trained this tick, and I've made a saddle. I've whittled a saddle here. And he's now replaced my dog as my pet.
But my rich parents won't let him in the house.
So Tyler and Chuck Charles go looking for Daryl along the road as they take the dog's body to the vet. So then we catch up with old Daryl, who is, according to everyone else, having no problems navigating the woods.
Yeah, he's having issues. No surprise.
He's
there.
definitely having issues. Meanwhile, at the vet, the doctor finds that there is something hard underneath the dog's skin by the wound. She also discovers that all the dog's blood has been mysteriously drained from its body. Vampires.
Yeah, it's aliens. Aliens for sure.
It's fun. If we were both doctors, I would have been like, it's vampires. You would have been like, no, I think it's aliens.
Yeah, this guy's
We would have both been wrong.
clearly an amateur. Vampires aren't real. An alien got this dog.
So then she sticks the needle into another spot, and this needle gets like broken off. She grabs another needle, and when she puts it back in, the dog's body begins to violently shake on the table. A bunch of blood and slime starts like oozing out of the wound, and the doctor finally pulls the needle free, only to discover a big ass fucking tick attached to the end of it.
I thought that the tick ate all the blood. Where's all this blood oozing out
I
of the
thought
wound
about
go?
that when I watched the movie, and I was like, maybe there was like other ticks that came and got their share, and this was the tick that was trying to get the last little bit.
Maybe it's where she stabbed the tick. Because he's got to be full of some fucking blood.
Yeah, but if he drank all the blood in the dog's body, he'd be like the size of a basketball.
Yeah, I know it's not just this one tick. I mean, in the movie, I don't
Unless he
think they thought
shit
that
out all the
through.
blood already.
It's like black coffee just rolling out of the dog. That's gross.
So after she looks at the thing in amazement, it then breaks free of her grip and begins running around the vet office. After a few minutes of searching, the tick then jumps like 10 feet across the room and latches onto Tyler's face. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, that is...
I'd lose my shit.
Giant ticks would be awful anywhere, but face would probably be undoubtedly the worst spot to get a giant tick grabbing you.
Yeah, and we see Chuck Charles try to pull it off, but it's like attached to it. Tyler has a new lip piercing.
Yeah,
in the
he
shape
does.
of a tick.
This was style in the 90s, man. Trench coat and
a lip piercing.
Tick hanging off your lip. A giant tick.
He finally gets it free, and as he tries to escape again, the doctor kills it by stomping on it. She then attempts a bug autopsy, which apparently she's pretty efficient at.
Yeah, I mean, what part of vet school did they do autopsies on ticks? Like full blown, like take all the organs out to where she can identify the exact kind of tick it is. I don't think vets have to do that.
Well, maybe when you're live in a small town where you're like the vet, the doctor, the exterminator, like you have to have multiple jobs because there's not enough people to do all the jobs.
Most vets can just identify a tick by looking at it. They don't have to like cut them open and do an autopsy.
I feel like I can identify a tick I can be like, that's a tick.
Yeah. Could you imagine
need to
taking
do an
your
autopsy on
dog
it.
to the vet and he's like, well, I think it's a tick, but hold on here.
Let me cut it open and see.
Let me get my extra small scalpel here and my microscope.
So during this autopsy, she discovers it to be your average wood tick, but finds that it has been covered with an herbal steroid that is illegal.
Yeah, good question. So how does the vet know the exact smell of an illegal fertilizer specifically used for growing giant weed plants?
Answer is because she grows giant weed plants secretly.
Yeah, she clearly grows some fucking weed.
Or she's the plug for the fucking steroid herbal shit. She's the dealer.
Everybody grows weed here. It's like they went to Murder Mountain. That's where they took these kids. Like the place in California, Murder Mountain.
Yeah,
the
Golden Triangle.
Yeah, the I can't remember the fucking name of that town, but yeah, everybody fucking grows weed here.
Apparently,
maybe she's like the kingpin. Like
she's the kingpin.
The vet is just a cover up. This is why she had to cut the tick open instead of just looking at it.
She's not even a real vet.
She's not.
We then see Daryl is running through the woods when he suddenly stops and we see a large bulge moving up his leg. He pulls out his knife and cuts open his parachute pants, only to find a big-ass tick burrowing into his skin.
This is actually done really good. This is like the first, at least with the person outside of the dog, the first indication that the effects in this movie are done really good. Like this looks really fucking good.
Yeah, they did a really phenomenal job. I mean, however many of those little ticks moving that they had to make, like that move and do all these things, they did a really great job. And then of course they had to kind of do like a where they attached it to this guy's leg and made it look like a wound and all that stuff. They do a really awesome job. But this is really the point in the film where we're starting to see ticks fuck people up.
Yeah, I mean, he even rips the tick off and the head is stuck inside and it starts moving around under his skin. Like they did it good enough to give you the creeps for sure.
Yeah, he pulls it off and he notices that the head is missing and the head is actually still under his skin, and he then begins to scream in pain.
And then he
passes out.
You know, I'm surprised with the parachute pants and the trench coat. I'm surprised they didn't give him a fanny pack.
Rich people didn't have fanny packs, just middle class and poor.
Yeah,
middle class and poor people.
Rich people kept their money in fanny packs. You didn't know that?
Keep their diamonds in fanny packs.
They're diamonds.
So back at the cabin, Holly asks Melissa to take Kelly down to the pond to go fishing. And while they're down there, we see them kind of like start to bond a little bit. And after casting her line into the water, we see Kelly get a bite but is unable to reel it in.
Bro, Kelly has literally, this is the first time we hear her talk. She says that she was raped, and that's why she doesn't talk. She's very silent. But damn, immediately she becomes like super fucking bossy.
Yeah, she becomes a bitch right out the gate. Not really right out the gate, but not long after right out of the gate. Like the first time that Melissa doesn't want to do something that she wants her to do, she instantly is like, you better do it.
Well, it's not even that. Like, all right, so she gets this snag on a line, and first she's like trying to tell her you got something, and she's like a bitch about it. She's like, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And then she's like, grab the net. So Melissa grabs the net, and then she literally wants Melissa to walk barefooted into this
Gross ass stagnant water.
Yes, it is like a pretty much a 15 by 15 foot, or I would say 15 foot in diameter circle of a stagnant, sad excuse of a pond. Like, there's no fucking way that I would step into this water. Like, it stank too.
Oh,
like,
that
it had
place
to have been
awful.
so bad. Yeah, Kelly was a much better character before she spoke.
She should have just not talked. So as Melissa grabs the line and starts to pull it up, the body of the sheriff then floats to the surface, causing Melissa and Kelly to say, fuck this pond, and take off running.
Kelly caught a whole copmouth bass. That's gotta be a record for that little pond.
Oh, yeah.
At least a weight record.
We also see that Rome and Dee Dee have went off on their own to explore the area, aka look for a place to fuck, when Dee Dee discovers the weed-growing shack. And inside, she finds a fuck ton of these slimy tick eggs ready to hatch. And right as she turns to leave, she runs into Jarvis, who is still alive, but has ticks crawling under his skin, and he looks terrible / awesome.
Yeah, this is like super unsettling. Goosebumps. It's pretty gross. They did a really good job. Did you notice that fucking Jarvis's dumbass steps on his bear trap for a second time?
I don't know. I didn't, and I don't even see how that's possible. Did the tick set the trap?
At some point in the middle of fighting these giant ticks, he took the time to reset the trap he's already broke his ankle with, and then step on it again. So he's got to be like, God damn it, man. I keep stepping on that bear trap.
So he's either like, I have to set the trap again to catch the ticks, or the ticks set the trap for him.
It doesn't seem like catching the ticks are big for ticks, but they're not like bear trap big.
I don't know.
So every movie, obviously, we've already mentioned every horror movie with the bear trap, somebody steps in their bear trap. This has got to be the first movie I've ever seen where somebody steps in their same bear trap 2 times.
Nice. It's a record.
Told you, this guy always plays like just dumbasses.
So he begs for Dee Dee's help and tries to hand her the gun to shoot him. And then we see a tick burst out of his face and land on her neck. And it looks awesome. It is fantastic.
It is good stuff. This is what we watch ticks for.
Yep.
This shit right here.
We then jump on over to Daryl, who passed out in the woods, and he is discovered by Sir and Jerry, who point a shotgun in his face, believing him to be one of the marijuana growers. And while they are confronting him, gets a little homophobic and rapey.
Yeah,
kind of an odd situation.
It got real rapey really quick. This guy's awful. Jerry is absolutely awful. It's like if it's a teenager, he'll rape it. He don't care.
I feel like if it's anything, he will.
He's like, yeah, those ticks better watch out,
He's
man.
gonna
He
get
might rape a tick. Have you ever stuck your dick in a tick?
You gonna fuck these chickens?
You gonna fuck these ticks?
You gotta cut the head off the tick and stick it in there. Daryl pulls out his knife and stabs Jerry in the leg and runs off. But after a few minutes of running, he trips over an alarm / like booby trap thing. Jerry catches up to him and attempts to stab Daryl with the knife, But Daryl doesn't panic and manages to gain the upper hand, and then proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of Jerry. Sir runs up and manages to shoot Daryl in the side with a shotgun. Daryl falls down a small embankment, and the shotgun blast has now started a fire in the woods. A very injured Daryl pulls out a bag of steroids from his pocket and puts a few in his mouth. I did not know that's how steroids work.
Yeah, I had no idea that for those steroid takers out there, you've been hiding it. You've been hiding that from us.
Just
We
get
didn't
like
know.
mortally injured and just take some roids and you'll survive.
Yeah, apparently like the hospital, they're throwing the morphine out, replacing them with steroids. You don't need pain meds and
Just need roids.
you don't need like an anticoagulant. You just need roids.
Like, you got in a car wreck, just get him juiced.
Sound like the beginning of like a George Sink commercial. The injury lawyer got in a car wreck.
Did you
Did you take too many roids? Did a guy named Jerry try to rape you after fucking a tick?
a lawyer commercial like, did you get attacked by giant ticks?
Call George Sink.
As Chuck, Charles, and Tyler are driving back to the cabin, they come across Rome, who is carrying Dee Dee. They stop to get them into the van, and Rome tells them that she got bit by a bug. They soon arrive at the cabin, and we see that the fire has like pushed all the giant ticks in the woods towards the group. Holly asks what happened to Dee Dee, and Charles tells her that she was bitten by an infected tick. Holly then reveals that Melissa and Kelly discovered the sheriff has been murdered after finding his body and a bullet holes in his Jeep. Now the ticks have mutated to the point where they're using guns.
Yeah, this is the tick side Crips, man.
The ticks have genetically evolved into having hands.
It's just a tick with a hand and a gun in it.
It's like human-sized hand on a tick, and it's holding a gun. Like they know how guns work and everything. How to load it.
Got a bandana hanging off of them.
The group then tries to get out of the van in order to escape, but the fire has gotten very close and the ticks are everywhere outside of the cabin. Jerry and Sir then show up begging to be let inside the cabin. Charles opens the door and we see that Jerry is covered in ticks. Why the fuck would you for one, why would you let Jerry in your cabin? And for two, why would you let anybody covered in ticks into your cabin? Like, knock, it's like dirt on your shoes. Knock that shit off before you come in.
You know, considering we know the rest of how this movie goes, I think they missed an awesome opportunity to just leave them trapped outside and let's get to watch them devoured by ticks.
Oh, for sure.
That would have been so much better. Like, if ticks aren't bad enough, like giant murderous ticks are not bad enough, they added these two pieces of shit in here. Like,
Could have just did with the ticks.
yes. I would rather deal with murderous giant ticks than these fucking creep-ass fucking pedophile pieces of shit.
So after a brief debate on who is going to get the van, we hear that the roids must have worked because Daryl is still alive as he begins banging on the door. They let him in only to find him fucked up. He has these blood-filled ticks just like attached to his body and he can't control his arms and legs. Tyler sets the big tick on fire, which causes it to explode and calms Daryl down for the moment. Daryl then uses his last bit of life to snitch out Sir and Jerry for shooting him. And then he dies.
Damn, man, Panic went through the whole movie and then panicked right before he died.
Yep.
He's lost his nickname. Now he's just Daryl again.
Well, I don't blame him, man. He's got these fucking ticks all over and he's fucked. He's got a shotgun hole. The ticks probably crawled into the shotgun hole.
But they call him Panic because he don't.
Well, he's lost that name.
He is now just Trenchcoat.
That's
what he's known by.
So Sir then pulls out his gun and demands the keys to the van. Jerry attacks Rome and shoots Charles in the leg/ass area. This is like almost got shot right in the butt cheek.
He does. He got shot in the ass. Anything to do with like somebody's private parts or something, they're going for it, man.
Yeah.
These two guys suck. It's like shoot him in the dick.
We also see Jerry taste Rome's sweat.
Yeah.
Like, what? What is wrong with you, man? What? what is? I don't understand why the other guy
ate some of that fertilizer.
I don't get why the other guy would work with him and be like, "Hey, man, you're too fucking gross. Like you crossed the gross line a long time ago."
I don't get why they're doing all the shit they're doing anyway. They show in the movie, like, there's some weed plants, but there ain't that many weed plants for them to be murdering the police and shit. Like, goddamn, you would think, like, the whole mountain was their weed plant.
Weed's expensive in that area.
Yeah.
It's like, $500,000 a plant.
Yeah, they got, like, a couple 1,000-watt lights and maybe a couple pounds of weed. That's about it. You're going to murder the police for that?
Well, these two ain't that smart, so maybe they're just dumb.
Yeah, they suck.
Sir then points the gun at Jerry and demands that he go get the van despite his protest. So Jerry finally makes it to the van but gets bit by a tick, which causes him to have a hallucination. He sees Sir, who is standing on the porch with the shotgun, turn into the sheriff that they murdered. This freaks Jerry out and he stomps on the gas pedal, causing the van to head straight for Sir and the cabin. We then see the van slam right through the front of the cabin. Despite everyone surviving the van crash, we see ticks start falling from the ceiling and run all over the place. The group then attempts to dig the van out of the wreckage of the cabin when Sir then grabs Melissa. I don't know how he does this, because if you watch the scene, he doesn't ever get up from the couch. It's like she just like falls onto him and he like grabs her. There's another thing. He also says something that I tried like 7 or 8 times to understand. It's like inaudible. Like whatever he says.
You
like,
didn't subtitle it?
I did. The subtitle said inaudible. No one knows what the fuck he says.
Yeah.
He fucked. It's hilarious. It's like,
it's like he's starting to speak in tick.
Yeah, it's hilarious because I have no fucking clue what he says. But yeah, I don't understand how the hell he grabbed Melissa because he never even got off the couch. Like, you just get the scene, like the shot of him sitting on the couch, and then Melissa like falls into his lap, and he's like, "I got you." I'm like, how'd that happen? Like, what happened?
Yeah, I didn't really catch that.
So Tyler then attacks Sir, freeing Melissa and allowing Rome to stab him in the chest. When suddenly we start to see Daryl's dead body move and shake around. And we have now arrived at the best part of the movie.
By far.
The group all look over to see Daryl's body just spasming all over the place when it suddenly slides all the way across the room on its own. We then see a giant fucking bug leg rip out of his right leg. You see how it like it poked out, like it ripped out, and then it went in a little bit, and then it like ripped way out. That's fucking good ass effects.
The fucking detail they did in this, it is one of the coolest like
body
creature, body morphs that I think I've ever seen. Like the tick legs are ripping through the palms of his hands and out of his legs and shit, and it just they did it so fucking good.
Yeah,
like I almost couldn't believe how good they did it the first time I watched this movie.
Yeah, they had it too, like whatever they did, however they built it, where it like ripped through like actual clothing. Like they had actual parachute pants on whatever this was, and it literally like ripped out of those. It's done very well, but
you think when his body slid across the floor, they were like, fuck, man, first giant ticks, now we got poltergeist activity? Like, what fucking horror movie are we in?
I was like, I don't understand the body sliding across the floor.
Like I would have been like,
that means
ghosts. This is so his like body literally just got thrown across the fucking room. Like
you find out this is the Evil Dead cabin.
They
Sir,
did
Sir and Jerry's really there to look for this book that I keep hearing about.
the Necronomicon has a page on raising giant ticks
Wouldn't surprise me.
and super methed out pedophiles.
Oh, so the group say, fuck this, I'm out, and they run into one of the bedrooms and try to barricade themselves in. We then see another bug arm begin pushing out of Daryl's palm before eventually ripping through his skin. And also another huge leg burst through his kneecap on his other leg. We then get an amazing shot of Daryl's head begin to rip in half down the middle to reveal the head of a fucking tick. It's amazing.
God, I wish I could have been here for them doing that. Like,
Dude,
I could have been
so-
on set to see that.
The bust they made of the guy who plays Daryl, they did a
Carlton?
great, yeah, they did a great job because his head literally like just rips open right down the middle to reveal this fucking bug.
Yeah, it looks legit. Like the bust doesn't like you. It doesn't look fake, especially for the '90s and a very low budget with a $2 million horror movie. You would think that it wouldn't look that good. No, this is done fucking amazing.
This movie got fucked, man. This movie should have been in a theater.
Bro,
This is a great
if
job.
they had this in a movie now, I would be like, that was fucking awesome.
this is what a lot
like
of movies are
ter-
missing now.
Like Terrifier fucking level practical effects.
Yeah, so back in the room, Kelly uses a fishing pole to pull the tire swing into the window. Tyler volunteers to board the swing in order to swing out and get to the back of the van. Back in the living room, Daryl's mutilated body begins to shake until it essentially explodes, revealing a giant steroid-fueled fucking monster tick.
You think it was the steroids?
Yeah.
I never thought that.
Hell
about
yeah,
that.
dude. Like, that's why this
Giant-
one is so fucking big.
Giant fertilized ticks plus steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing's fucking glorious. It's the size of, I was gonna say a Power Wheels, but it's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's bigger than the Power Wheels.
It's like the size of a twin size bed.
Yeah, it's like if you took 2 Power Wheels.
Yes. Yes, it is 2 Power Wheels length.
It's a dual seater.
But yeah, this thing's fucking glorious. And like the explosion of the body, like essentially his body parts and blood just like mist. Like they just chunks of his body and his blood just fly everywhere. And all that's left standing is this 2 Power Wheel size fucking tick. So what I want to know is where the fuck is that special effects tick they made? Like somebody has that. That's somewhere.
I feel like it's probably like degraded over time.
It probably has,
always
but
sad when you-
it's big enough where it still exists.
When you see like the auctions of the actual movie stuff and props and stuff, and they're
Oh,
all
yeah.
degraded now, and it's like, damn.
You remember when we seen, I showed you last year, the original knife from Scream?
Now,
One of the Scream used knives, because it's obviously
fucked
rubber
up it
knives.
is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's literally degraded. Like it's just so sad looking.
Yeah, all the masks and stuff from back then
Yeah.
are like yellowing and falling apart.
But yeah, so we have this fucking monster tick now. It's fucking glorious. And Sir is shitting his pants. 100% shitting himself.
And they don't call him shit his pants
No.
because he does.
It crawls over to him. It gets on top of him. It's fucking him.
God, I wish this tick would have raped him. Like this could have been like Panic's redemption. He is inside this tick.
Yeah.
It's like, you like this tick dick?
Take this dick. I'm gonna fuck you harder than Chuck fucked Holly.
Jerry's dead ass is over there like, what are you doing? Sir, that's for me.
So, it gets on top of him and it latches its mouth onto Sir's neck. Meanwhile, in the room, Tyler swings out onto the tire swing, but the rope snaps and he falls way out into the middle of the yard. He immediately starts getting attacked by ticks, and as he brushes them off, he turns to see like 100 of them headed straight for him. And as he finally makes it to the van, we see that the giant tick is now attempting to break down the bedroom door. He's Jack Torrance in that shit.
Bro, that's what I was about. He does break through the door and he sticks his tick head through and he totally says, "And tick, it's Johnny."
It's Johnny. So Tyler backs the van up to underneath the window, and the teens one by one start to lower themselves to the van. As Rome tries to exit through the window, the giant tick grabs his leg. Tyler climbs up and uses his torch to fend off the bug, allowing him and Rome to jump down into the van and drive off. We then see the fire spread to the cabin's big-ass propane tank, which I haven't seen at all in this movie until just now. I mean, it's huge. It's the size of at least 6 Power Wheels.
I would say 12. I'd argue 12 Power Wheels. It's pretty large.
You never see it in any background shots, and it's like right there in front of the cabin. All of a sudden,
they just installed it while this was going on.
So it spreads to the tank, and it causes a massive fake CGI explosion, destroying the cabin for good. The next day, we see that the kids have made it back to the safety of the inner city, and the van is now sitting among other junk cars in a salvage yard. The camera pans to underneath the van, where we see a giant tick egg drop from the frame of the van and begin to hatch. And that is the end of Ticks.
Yeah, I was really kind of disappointed that we didn't get to see this giant tick kill Rome. Rome wasn't a really liked character.
No, I don't really care about him.
He's kind of a douche. But yeah, the fact that they had Tyler goes in there and saves them, they missed an awesome opportunity to give it. They built this huge tick, and we didn't get to see a whole lot of it. I think it would have been a great opportunity as they're taking off. Rome's getting tore apart by this giant tick.
I don't know. I mean, we didn't get to see it actually kill Sir either.
Yeah.
They didn't show that, and I think what happened is this thing, I don't know, maybe it was difficult to work with, or it was really limited on what it could do.
Ran out of money.
They ran out of money.
They spent fucking 3/4 of their budget tearing Carlton apart.
Honestly, I'm fine with that. It's literally one of the coolest fucking things I've seen in a movie. It's amazing.
Yeah, I would just say that was my only letdown at the end of the movie, was that we didn't get to see the giant tick actually kill anybody. And I thought Rome being trapped in there at the end would have been a perfect opportunity. But I love the twist ending. It was almost like they were setting up for another Ticks.
Well, I think that they were hoping that it would make good money in the theater, and they could make probably a bigger budget Ticks. But, it got fucked over.
Panic somehow comes back, and he's like, now the Ticks are in my neighborhood. And they're
Ticks in the hood.
They're like, shut up, Panic. You don't even live here. You live down the street next to the Hilton.
So this right here is phenomenal. This movie, it had something called the Frantic for Cash Sweepstakes.
Bro, the marketing for this movie was fantastic.
When you bought a copy of the VHS, inside, it would have a print that would tell you if you won. So pretty much like a Charlie and the Chocolate Factory golden ticket kind of thing. And the prizes were $1,000 cash, $500 cash, or $100 cash. Or some top-of-the-line camping equipment, including binoculars, lanterns, and hammocks.
Hammock?
I'm not
Who takes a
fucking you.
hammock camping?
You can fucking watch the commercial for it. It's called the Frantic for Cash Sweepstakes.
I thought for sure, I was like, please tell me that you open it up and there's a tick inside.
It's like, oh, I got the $1,000. I wanted the binoculars.
Been needing a new hammock and lantern. They send you the binoculars so you can look at a tick and it be bigger.
Yeah, that's great though.
You can
That's
search
awesome.
for ticks in the woods with these binoculars. Why you swing on your hammock?
I miss shit like that though. Like when you bought something and you like opened it. Like remember back with the Mountain Dews and the Pepsis, you pulled the cap off and you'd be like, "Oh, I gotta buy one, get one free." They don't do anything like that shit anymore, man.
I this was like the time for that too. I think this was like the 90s were the best time. Like you could win a jet.
Well, I mean, you could win a jet, but not really.
Yeah. But anyway, like just stuff like that.
But you could win a Pepsi T-shirt. You could really win that.
Yeah. They're like, well, instead of this jet, we're gonna send you a T-shirt. It's just as good.
And some 12 packs.
We spent as much as we did on the jet. We promise. Yeah. This was the time for that, and I remember when that stuff started fading out. Like you remember when like the Pepsis and Mountain Dews, they quit telling you if you won and started just doing a code, so you would have to go to their website and they could make ad money off of it.
Yeah.
And it slowly faded out. We don't get cool shit like that anymore.
I mean, can you imagine, a DVD comes out or like Blu-ray comes out right now and they have like a thing where if you open it up, you might win $1,000?
Yeah.
That'd be fucking cool. I mean, even what's the lowest? $100. Shit, I'd take $100. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, the marketing for this movie, from what I've heard, was great.
Yeah, I think the internet just replaced that kind of marketing. When you have the internet now that everyone's always on, always looking at, you don't really need to do that kind of marketing. So despite the movie's title, ticks aren't insects. They are arachnids, more closely related to spiders and scorpions.
What do you mean, despite the movie's title? It's called Ticks.
Subtitle. Despite the movie's subtitle. I read that
was
wrong.
like, what, does ticks have a deeper meaning?
So midway through filming, an earthquake in the San Bernardino Mountains destroyed the mountain location and the hotel that the cast and crew stayed at. So the cabin had to be recreated in the wooded area in the Griffin Park golf course and could only be used in the evenings so as to not obstruct golfers during the day.
That's interesting.
Maybe that's where the propane tank came from. It's when they built another one.
They just found that they're like, hey, we could use this for that big fake explosion we're gonna do at the end of the movie. One thing I didn't get for the end, I meant to mention this. So they had the van. It's in like a junkyard at this point because it got all fucked up from ticks, I guess. Although they were still driving it.
I don't know why they gave the van up.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like just trauma.
Yeah, there's Jerry's dead body still in it. They're like, we got to get rid of this. It stinks. But yeah, so this tick egg falls out, but then this fertilizer starts dripping all over it. How did all this fucking fertilizer get in the fucking van?
Maybe off the ticks. Because remember the vet says that like they're covered in it.
Yeah, but it's like dripping out of the bottom of the van, like pouring onto the eggs.
It's a fucking movie van. It gets it's got plot juice running on it.
Plot juice.
Ratings and kill count. So we got total kills. We got 6. The dog, who was killed by a tick. Jarvis Tanner, who was killed by infestation of ticks. Sheriff Parker, who was murdered by Sir and Jerry. Daryl Panic Lumley, who was killed by ticks. Jerry, who was killed by a gunshot/van crash. Sir, who was killed by a giant steroid-fueled tick.
You know you don't have enough kills in the movie when they have to count the dog.
I counted the dog because everyone else didn't, and I thought that,
the dog deserves.
Never forget.
Never forget. It's
Yeah.
a border collie.
Yeah.
Beautiful dog.
All right, so favorite kill. I go first, so hands down, Daryl. It's easy. And I went ahead and did my close second as Jarvis because the bursting out of his face was done fantastic. It looked amazing. Even before the face burst, when you could see it moving around under his skin, that was awesome. So that's my close second.
Yeah, I obviously gave this to Panic too. there's not much, definitely nothing in this movie, but there's not a whole lot that I can think of around this time that tops that whole scene.
Oh yeah, it's that scene has burnt into my mind. Like when I didn't watch this movie for 10 years, I could always remember that scene. Forgot everything else, but remembered that scene.
Yeah, by far the best kill.
And I'd
No
forgotten about the
comparison.
face stuff with Jarvis until, we did this watch. So I was surprised by a lot of stuff I had forgotten, but I never forgot the Daryl kill.
So I guess Jarvis died. That was
Yeah.
he did officially die from that.
Yep.
Okay. Well, still Daryl, regardless, hands down.
All right, so rating. I rated this movie a 3.4. Some of the actors were, okay. I wouldn't say the acting's great, but it's not bad. Some are better than others. I think that Carlton and Seth Green were definitely phenomenal. The storyline was original. You never see, I don't think you've seen before or after a movie about giant ticks killing everybody. So I give it that. But the main part is the special effects were amazing. Like that is pretty much the vast majority of my rating. I would say my negatives is the characters are all very generic. The troubled teen thing, it's been done a lot, kind of shaky. And the dialogue was like, it's not a movie that's written to be awesome with dialogue or awesome with character building. It's about fucking bugs getting too big and murdering everybody. So, and I think for that, it does that great. It does a great job at that. I wish more people knew about this movie. I wish more people were willing to watch it and give it a chance, especially if you're into special effects. So yeah, 3.4.
So I went with a 3.1. That's what I would give the movie. I would say as far as my enjoyment watching it, it's closer to a 3.9.
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah, I would agree with that.
But the movie itself is a 3.1. It's just overall a really, really fun movie. If you don't go into it with serious expectations, that's the biggest thing. Like, it's a movie about killer ticks. Don't go into it with like the most realistic, strict expectations. How can you not have fun watching a movie about giant killer ticks in literally the heart of the 90s? The best part of the movie, by far, like you said, is the effects. The special effects team were amazing. If I had to say I had any complaints, it would be the lack of kills from the ticks. I do think that they missed a couple really good opportunities, especially with the giant tick at the end. But other than that, like I said, it's just a fun movie. Cinematography and acting and dialogue and story and all that stuff, is why it got a 3.1. Those things aren't supposed to be amazing in a movie like this. That's why I said you got to go into it with certain expectations that you're going to have fun and watch a kind of ridiculous movie. But with that said, the effects really elevate this to not being like a Thanksgiving or something. Like it elevates it to like, wow, I really didn't expect the effects to be as good as they were.
This movie wouldn't have the long-lasting life that it has currently without these effects. If it didn't have these effects in it, when I watched it when I was like 7 for the first time, I wouldn't have fucking remembered this movie. I would have, I don't know, maybe because I had the tick in my head, maybe I would have remembered the incident, but I wouldn't have remembered any of the actual movie itself. And I don't think that it would be a movie that's like, people would go and watch on Tubi or something now. Like it would have had a very short, relevant lifespan.
Yeah, without the effects, I don't think it would have been elevated into the cult classic that it is. Very similar to a movie like Maniac, which is it's known for its amazing effects. That movie has a story that is not a bad story, but nothing that sticks out. If you watched it, you probably wouldn't remember it 10 years later, but you do because the effects were so good, and that drives it into the cult classic area, and that's what this movie is. but a very, very, very less serious version of that, whereas it's a fun watch.
It definitely wouldn't have got a 4K Blu-ray re-release, this long later, that didn't come out till like 2021. And if it didn't have the special effects that it had, then it would have never gotten that. And obviously there was a demand for it. That's why they made it. That's why they printed it and used all the resources to make that, because there is like a fan base for this out there. And without the amazing special effects, there wouldn't be a fan base for this.
Yeah, agreed. If you're going into a movie and you want to see like a beautiful cinematography or a psychological horror, some complex storylines, really realistic, this definitely is not the movie that you want to put on. But if you're sitting down with some friends and you want to watch something and laugh, and also to get to see some really cool effects and kind of relive that nostalgia of the mid-90s, this is a good one.
I think this movie's probably best for viewing if you get a couple buddies and you get a pizza and you get fucking stoned and you watch this. That's probably the best way to watch this movie.
Drugs are bad.
Yeah. So, once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website. Check out the socials. Tell a friend, a family member, or your steroid dealer about the show. We hope to see you next time. Any last words?
And now you can watch to win with our Frantic for Cash sweepstakes. Watch your tick screener to win prizes like $1,000, $500, or $100 cash. Plus great camping gear, including Bushnell binoculars, Coleman lanterns, and folding hammocks. So latch onto the title that will really get under your customer's skin. Ticks.